Hi everybody and welcome to my kitchen. It's Tuesday afternoon. We are going to be cooking up a fun dish today. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I had a little bit of technical difficulties. Every now and then something happens, but here we are. Welcome to Tuesday. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making a dish that is loosely based on a dish that I used to have during the summer mostly with my big Italian family, and we would call this dish Googootz. So before I started, I looked up a little information on it, but I can get into that in a little bit. I'll just give you a hint. I'll let you know Googootz typically stands for zucchini. And today, instead of zucchini, I'm actually going to use summer squash. But you could use zucchini, which is, the green version of the summer squash, to make this dish. It will also include some pea pods. So these pea pods come from my garden. I was trying to use up ingredients of things that I have around a lot. I received the summer squash from my CSA. It's supposed to be zucchini, but it's summer squash, so that's okay. We'll use that too. Very similar flavor to the zucchini. I have a lot of these pea pods from my garden. I also had some leftover quinoa from a previous cooking program that I did. I had frozen it. So I thawed that out and I figured let's put that in the dish as well. So what I'm making then is Googootz and pea pods with quinoa. Clever name, right? I know. So just to get started, what we need to do is we need to prep our veggies. So what I'm going to do is I cleaned my zucchini and my pea pods so they're ready to go. And I want to cut the zucchini. I'm calling it zucchini, it's summer squash. So let's say cut the squash into about 1/2 inch slices here. And then what I'm going to do is I like to stack them and then cut those into quarters. So it makes it a little bit quicker than slicing each individual slice by itself. Kind of get a few at a time. And I'm making these a little bit on the larger size. You can make them larger if you like, smaller if you like. But I like this size because I don't want the zucchini to cook down into nothing, or squash to cook down into nothing. I want it to still have a little bit of substance to it. Here, let me show you what I've got here. All right. And we are going to cook these down a little bit in a moment. So let me just warm up my frying pan here, my saute pan. In a moment, I'm going to add some olive oil to that. But in the meantime, I'm taking my now cleaned pea pods and I want to break them, cut them down into bite-sized pieces. So I'm taking a few at a time and I'm just cutting through on the diagonal, if you can see, like that. Just so, maybe they're about 3/4 of an inch square, maybe a little bit smaller. Let me put a little olive oil into my saute pan. I've got about a tablespoon of olive oil in there right now. Let me cut up the rest of these pea pods. And, the pea pods are nothing more than immature peas. It's a variety where the pod itself tastes very sweet and very good. If you leave these pea pods on the vine, you will see that the peas get larger. I've never tried harvesting them and having them just as peas. I like to have them this way. All right. So we now have a nice pile, I would say maybe a little bit more, maybe about a cup of our pea pods cut up, maybe about 3/4 of a cup of the squash that's cut up as well. And I'm going to turn down my pan here. I had it on high. I turned it down to a little bit about medium low, just so that I can cut my onion here. And I'm going to cut 1/2 onion. It was a fairly large onion, so I figured I'd go with a half. And I'm going to dice this as well, so I'm going to cut it down through lengthwise this way, all the way to the tip where the root is, if you can see here. But I'm not going to cut the root off. I like to cut onions this way so that all of the layers of the onion stay together. And I'm now just cutting across this way to get smaller sections so that when I cut down again, I'm going to have nice, small, even size of diced onion here. All right, when I get to the end, what I like to do is just turn the root end sideways, and I will cut off just that very last bit. And I'm just going to cut through those last pieces so that they're nice and small and uniform as well. So I have now, my pan is heated up. I'm going to add in my onion and get that started to saute. Here we go. All right, and now what I want to do is I just want to soften that onion a little bit, get it started going. While I am doing that, I'm going to prep my garlic. So now I had half an onion, about a cup of cut pea pods, one squash, and I'm putting in about 3 cloves of garlic. I got 2 small ones here, so really it's 4, and if you know me, I like to smash my garlic. So I'm just going to smash that garlic just to release the skin from the outer part of that clove, that garlic clove. Do that with all my cloves here. And discard the papery outside of the clove. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop that up, dice it, give it a good dice. Till it's about like what I like to call a loose mince. So we don't have to pulverize it. It will cook down because we're going to be cooking it along with that with our onion and our squash. All right, so here, I'll just scoop this up so you can see about the size that I like to make it. All right, there we go. Okay, good. Let me just rinse off my hands here. That lovely garlic smell. All right. My onion is actually browning here. Typically, I don't want it to brown too much. Let me show you what I've got here. This is browned a little bit more than what I usually will do, but it's still good. I'm going to add in now my garlic that I just chopped up. And I'm going to add in my squash. I'm going to wait a minute before I add in my pea pods because I like to have them a little bit crunchy. So I have my squash. Ooh, smells so good. That garlic with the squash is delicious. Just going to let that cook up a little bit. All right, so while that is going on, we're going to let that cook down a little bit. I want to prep some lemon juice. So I cleaned my lemon and I left it out so that it had time to warm up a little bit. That helps with releasing the juice. I'm going to want to use a little bit of lemon rind. I like that nice kind of zesty flavor. And I will also use probably the juice of the entire lemon. If you don't like your recipes so lemony, start with half a lemon, see what you think. In the meantime, just as a reminder, I'm going to take out some red pepper flakes because I want to add in, just to get a little zing to the dish. Now, if you have a jalapeno, I was going to use one of my jalapenos from my garden, but it's not quite ready. It's a little bit too small. So I think I will substitute in with a few red pepper flakes there. Let me give my saute here. Mix. I'm going to add a little bit. So sometimes when you're making a dish, I'm looking at my saute here, and my onions are getting brown, but my squash is still quite firm. When that happens, one way that you can kind of slow down the process is to add a little bit of water in. And put a lid on it so that it actually steams. So let's do that so we don't burn our onions and our garlic. So I'm adding in maybe, that was maybe about 2 tablespoons of water. If you have broth, you could put broth in too. That would be a nice flavor for it. And you know what? Maybe we'll add in those peapods while that's going on. So we can get those cooking along as well. Now, another thing that you could do is add more oil and have it saute more. That's another alternative. Growing up, we always had a lot of olive oil in our Googootz. Yum. Great memories. So yeah, so Googootz. So I looked up Googootz because I wanted to make sure that I was really right, and this wasn't just not a name that our family made up, but it actually is an Italian word. It's actually kind of a nickname for zucchini. I think there is an actual similar vegetable that's called something like cucuzza that is really what you would have in Italy. Zucchini is the closest approximation to what we have over here. But I also found out that Googootz is a term of endearment. So you can say, oh, my little Googootz. That was something I learned just kind of doing that research. You never know, right? So while we're waiting for the Googootz to cook, I'm just rolling my lemon here to release some of the juices. I have a bowl here that I'm going to cut my lemon with. Just going to rinse off my knife that has all that garlicky flavor on it. And before I do that, let's use a planer, all right, to zest a little bit of that lemon. And when you zest a lemon, you really want to just get the outer layer. You don't want to get a lot of the pith or the yellow part because that tends to be a little bit bitter. So I did about half the lemon here, which is about, I would say, probably about a teaspoon of lemon zest. I'm going to cut my lemon in half. And then, just to start the juices running, I'm going to just break up some of those juice cells in the lemon itself. And I like this juicer. So you put it in upside down. The first few times I used this, I put it in the wrong way. That was not very efficient. And we're just going to close down on top of it to get our juice. Now, a lemon can give you anywhere from 2 tablespoons to 4 tablespoons of juice, depending on the size and the juiciness. This one is being a little stubborn. It's not releasing its juices very readily. Sometimes, I'll show you a little trick. I cut off the tip, the very tip of the lemon, so that it fits better into the squeezer. Here. All right. Got a little bit more out of that. Not much. Let's check on our saute. Okay, this is now looking very good. I'm going to keep it going a little bit longer. But let me show you in the meantime what we got going here. All right. Beautiful colors. And as you know, I always like to cook with color because the antioxidants that keep inflammation down are found in the color of our fruits and vegetables. Always good to get a variety. So for instance, this summer squash has different properties, different nutrients, antioxidant nutrients that fight inflammation than a regular green zucchini. It has different vitamins. It has different mineral composition, I would assume, too. All right. So I've squeezed out now my lemon. Let's make sure I've gotten everything. And while we're waiting too, I just wanted to show you, I just toasted up some slivered almonds a little while before to toss in with everything else. The only thing I do when I brown or toast nuts, I put them in a dry pan, so no oil, and just let it come just till I can start smelling the nuts cooking. And at that point, I turn off the heat underneath, and I will stir it for a little bit, and then immediately put it into a plate. So I usually have a plate just sitting at the side of the stove where I'm doing this, and I immediately will put the nuts out on the plate to cool so that they don't cook further, because they'll very quickly go from nice toasty brown to burnt. I've found that out too many times. All right, so we now have our vegetables. The water has cooked off of them. We give them a stir. Ah, these are gorgeous. And just as I wanted, the pea pods are still green, but they're starting to soften. So you still have that nice color. What's nice about having the yellow squash is it just adds a contrast to the green of the pea pod. So I heated up my quinoa. Remember I said I had leftovers. Always love to use leftover veggies. I've turned off my heat underneath my vegetables here. So I'm going to add about 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup of the cooked quinoa to the lemon juice that I put in here. All right, just want to make sure that I remembered everything. All right, I want to add a few of my pepper flakes. I'm going to say this is about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And I'm going to add that in. Again, if you had the jalapeno, you could add raw jalapeno in, or you could cook the jalapeno up with your vegetables. If you cook it up with the vegetables, it's a milder flavor. Just remember that. And also, if you don't want as much heat, take the seeds out first, because the seeds have a lot of that heat. All right, I'm going to add in, I'm going to say about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right. And some gratings of fresh pepper. All right. And then I'm going to add in my vegetables. I like to add them in nice and warm. What's nice about this dish is you can have it room temperature, or you can heat it up. During the summer, let me just turn off my fan here. There we go. During the summer, it's kind of nice to have something at room temperature and not hot. Now, what I will probably do, wait, before I say that, final ingredient, raisins. I'm going to add in about a 1/4 cup of raisins. 1/4 cup is like a handful. And this just adds a nice contrast to the zing of the lemon and the heat of either the jalapeno, if you're putting that in, or the red pepper flakes. And in the end, I also have some fresh basil here, again from my CSA. So I'm going to take, about 2 sprigs maybe. There's a lot here. I would say about 10 leaves is what I have. And I'm going to give it a rough chop. So after combining everything in together, we added our 1/4 cup of raisins. I'm going to add in about 10 leaves of fresh basil. If you don't have fresh basil, of course, you could always use dried. I would think maybe about a 1/2 teaspoon to start, just to see what the flavor is like. But again, this adds a nice texture to it and a great punch of flavor. All right, and let's see. Did we get everything in here? Yes, we did. Excellent. I'm going to add in my almonds, slivered almonds. I'm going to leave some out because it's always nice to put some on top, just for appearances. All right, let me grab a bowl. It's nice to cook in the see-through bowl, but then when you're serving, for the final dish, to pass around the table, right? All right. And I'm going to use some of those reserved almonds, just to sprinkle on top. Maybe take some basil leaves here. To just tuck in on the side. And there you have it. Our finished dish. So, you could just serve it like this. This makes a wonderful vegetarian dish. The quinoa adds a lot of protein to it. The almonds add fiber and a little bit of protein as well. But you can also add in, if you have leftover chicken breast or chicken that you'd like to cut up and put in, make it into a chicken salad. You could have the chicken on the side. I think tonight what we're going to do is we're going to have this chicken on a little bit of chicken on the side and maybe a fresh green salad as well. Up those veggies, right? So that's it. So you now know how to make this dish, how to eat an anti-inflammatory meal, right? Because we are adding in all healthy, good for us ingredients that help slow down that aging process, what we're always looking for, right? And you also know what Googootz are. Who knew? All right, so I hope to see you soon. I am just in the process of launching a new group page, so keep following and I will post with more information on that. It is for a community of like-minded people like yourselves that are interested in eating healthy and staying healthy and kind of slowing down that aging process. Aging more healthfully. So just before I go, I want to give a shout out to Paula. Hey, Paula, thanks for stopping by. And Robin, hey, I'm so glad to see you. Let me see what I need to start. All right, exactly, Robin. You have to start saying Googootz. I love that. It is a fun word to say. All right, wonderful. And Paula, let me know if you end up making this dish with all of your zucchini. All right, so everyone, so glad to see you today. And I hope to see you next Tuesday. All right, in the meantime, stay healthy and eat healthy, and we'll see you then. Take care now. Bye-bye.